And when you drive down the cost of electricity and productivity rises, suddenly you start to get bizarre outcomes. Bizarre outcomes because it doesn't necessarily accrue to the individual either. It accrues in this kind of AI world and robotics world, whether it's to superpowers, super powerful companies, whether it's to governments, whether it's to autonomous agents, which I'll come to in a sec, or a whole bunch of other ways. It doesn't necessarily accrue to us. And that's my fear here, is the accrual of the massive gains of a complete quantum change in the study of economics and how economies work doesn't necessarily accrue to us humans.
Hey guys, welcome to Everyday Finance. Artificial intelligence agents and crypto-based payment systems are at the vanguard of structural transformation. According to Raoul Pal, who views cryptocurrency and technology as the driving forces behind long-term investment potential, the story of the market, on the other hand, continues to be highly impacted by sentiment. As a reflection of both retail psychology and institutional caution, the Fear and Greed Index for Bitcoin exemplifies how emotions can quickly swing between fear and neutrality. Analysts such as David Bailey emphasize that the emotion of the cryptocurrency market behaves more like an unstable flame than a consistent trend. This is because instances of fear, uncertainty, and doubt FUD frequently occur in opposition to the real direction of price.
What we're doing is we're using the everything code to just keep paying the debts to stall the system until this kicks in. There are two economic centers of gravity where this is really being worked on hard. Firstly, the US and China is hyper-focused on the AI. He who controls the AGI controls the world. Now, I think we'll have multiple AGIs, and whether they intersect and combine, we don't know that future. And I'm not concerned about that now. That's a topic for another day. Really, what I'm thinking about is the massive knowledge that comes from that. It's infinite humans, right? Infinite humans. So knowledge has zero scarcity. So therefore, it's zero in value. Everything that gets digitized goes to zero in value, which is one of the reasons why blockchain is so important, because you can create digital scarcity. But knowledge is going to go to zero in value. It's going to be like water everywhere. What the fuck does that mean? Well, I'll come on to a bit on that in a sec. And when you scale robots as well, again, this is more infinite humans. On the other side of the equation is productivity. So we talked about productivity being based around output per unit of electricity, let's call it. Now, people look at what Europe's doing and their drive towards green energy and say, what a ridiculous waste of resources. They're pumping money into this. It's all going to be burned. What a waste of time. It's not. In fact, it's probably one of the most important things, and both China and Europe are leading this charge. And in fact, China's leading it overall. You see, using renewable energy creates two outcomes. Firstly, it massively lowers the cost of electricity. So renewable energy shows an exponentiality in the cost. So cost keeps collapsing each year. So it's down sort of 99% over the last 20 years, and it'll keep driving lower and lower and lower as we get more effective in harnessing the sun's energy. The sun's energy, this is a massive nuclear reactor in the sky that's basically free to use, and it'll get cheaper and cheaper to capture for all of us. Now, right now, people say, well, yeah, but it doesn't scale. Right now being the words. Scaling means battery technology. Scaling means decentralized grids, not centralized grids. You don't need centralized grids to run cities. You can use decentralized grids, in which case solar, geothermal, and others scale massively because you just need smaller amounts in more places than a big amount in one place, which is where most people get this wrong. And the reason why we're doing that is because it's much more efficient to try and eventually get it from this massive nuclear reactor in the sky than it is from burning old trees and fossils from the past. It's actually a less efficient way of doing it, even though it's very energy dense. Energy density is less important if you've got abundant energy in terms of renewables. Obviously, nuclear is the other massive play here. Nuclear, once it ramps up, basically brings the cost of electricity to zero. So I think the marginal cost of electricity goes to zero. And I think Europeans and Chinese are driving it there, and they're driving it on purpose because there's no way out of this economic trap until we drive down the cost of electricity to negligible costs. And therefore it becomes a multiplier as the technology scales on the other side, i.e. we become more efficient at using that electricity cost. That's a huge multiplier. So we've got two massive multipliers coming. One is infinite humans. Two is the productivity miracle of cheap energy. Those two things completely change what economies look like. So if you think about that formula, suddenly if you double the amount of intelligence in the planet in 1 year, you can potentially, move GDP by 30% in a year if that intelligence is used. And when you drive down the cost of electricity and productivity rises, suddenly you start to get bizarre outcomes. Bizarre outcomes because it doesn't necessarily accrue to the individual either. It accrues in this kind of AI world and robotics world, whether it's to superpowers, super powerful companies, whether it's to governments, whether it's to autonomous agents, which I'll come to in a sec, or a whole bunch of other ways. It doesn't necessarily accrue to us. And that's my fear here, is the accrual of the massive gains of a complete quantum change in the study of economics and how economies work doesn't necessarily accrue to us humans.
A strong correction occurred in Ethereum, which resulted in a loss of more than 15% in just 6 days and a temporary drop to $4,700. Although this was the case, Ethereum demonstrated its resilience by retaining key support levels and keeping futures premiums over the neutral 5% line. This indicated that traders were confident in a path that would lead to a price of $4,700. This resiliency is further strengthened by their on-chain activity. Ethereum continues to control over 60% of the total value locked and experienced a 38% increase in network fees, surpassing competitors such as Solana and BNB Chain. In light of this, it appears that there is an increasing demand for Ethereum block space, which lends credence to the notion that the cryptocurrency's rebound may be based on more robust fundamentals than price charts alone suggest. Nevertheless, traders remain wary due to larger economic issues, such as lackluster growth signals, stretched AI valuations, and persistent uncertainty over the Federal Reserve.
So it'll solve its own energy problems. It'll solve its own logistics problems. It'll solve its own security problems. So these things get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So as a deflationary shock, it's huge. If we think about business models, one of the businesses I've been in is the media. I've got several businesses, and I'll talk about all of them. So Real Vision. Well, Real Vision, right now, you garner your attention on group and watch me on the Real Vision platform or on YouTube, and you watch our guests and you come on the platform, we have your attention and we add value to you in your financial journey and help you unfuck your future. In not very long, in a month or two, you'll be able to have conversations with my AI video in real time, trained on all of my data. So the whole media model goes from a one-to-many to a one-to-one model, which is an entirely new model. The whole model of Netflix and the film industry, everything is about to change. And obviously, once you start getting into headsets and where the world is going with AR, VR, and kind of metaverse, it changes once again. Real Vision itself, we have to lean into blockchain technologies in how things are done, authenticating who you are, authenticating what our content is, and also creating a source of truth. In a world where there is going to be no truth because so much can be faked, you need a source of truth. Real Vision aims to be the source of truth in finance. And so using blockchain technology, we'll be able to do that. So we'll be scaling that out, but we'll be scaling out our AI initiatives. There's no point ignoring it. We'll get disrupted super fast unless we lean into this fast and give you the superpowers that AI can give you. And having non-generalized models, but specialized models that do that based on our own private data sets plus the global data set, well, that's a very big deal. So that's another way. I've also got an asset management company, Exponential Age Asset Management, where we invest in crypto hedge funds to capture this massive trend of the crypto industry going from 2 trillion to 100 trillion over this same period that I'm talking about, this 6-year period. Well, what we will see is the rise of AI in that too, and how it might disrupt stuff like VC investing over time, or how the world gets more tokenized because we've got shorter attention or shorter business life cycles. And so that plays into this. We have to think about it in everything that we do, whatever industry we're in. The only ones that really are protected to me are the human-to-human industries, stuff like travel, nature, or human connection. Human connection should be at a premium to AI connection. We're already seeing a massive rise in stuff like character AI, which most people aren't aware of, but there's hundreds of millions of downloads of anime AI characters that become people's best friends, their romantic partners, and this is for kids, and it's scaling massively fast. Most of us aren't even seeing it because it's like TikTok was. We kind of just thought it was noise. But look, these AI models are going to be good, and they're going to scale very fast. And as I said, you'll be talking to me in an AI model very soon, where you can just have me on your desktop and you can chat to me. And that's going to happen for everything, from doctors, any expert in any field, anybody who can be trained on a vast amount of data. I've probably got more long-form financial content than maybe anybody else in the world. So it makes it very useful to train models on. And other people will have the same in different spheres. And so you'll find a lot of experts that you'll be able to have at your fingertips to talk to personally and create a relationship with.
Bitcoin experienced a significant 10% correction from its highs in August. It's falling to a price of 113,350 yen before regaining its footing over 114,500 yen. The speed with which cryptocurrency sentiment and liquidity can fluctuate is brought into sharp relief by this turmoil, in spite of the fact that the bounce was anticipated. The blockchain analytics company. Santaman cautioned traders to maintain a cautious stance because markets frequently move against the consensus of the population. The macroeconomic environment adds another layer of complexity: treasury policies, persistent inflation in the United States, and forthcoming advice from the Federal Reserve all loom big. At this moment, traders are concentrating on Raoul Pal's Jackson Hole address, which may either further intensify concerns about tightening or provide hints of respite. With the overall market capitalization of cryptocurrencies returning to a level close to $3.96 trillion, Powell's tone may determine whether this rebound continues or slows.